This is the plaintiff, Mark Raudenbush. He says he runs a boat repair service and did work on the defendant's boat, and the guy's stiffing him because he reversed the credit card charges on him. That's right, the defendant had him repair the boat twice, paid him twice, then stopped payment on him for no good reason. Some people. He's suing for $1,121.92, the full amount he's owed. This is the defendant, Chris Gravengood. He says he keeps his boat at the plaintiff's marina, and he never ever authorized the guy to do all this work he's being charged for. The plaintiff just did this work on his own, never sent him a bill, and then went ahead and charged it to a credit card he had on file with him. He refuses to be taken advantage of like that, and isn't paying for something he didn't order. He's accused of being a landlubber.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says he worked in the defendant's boat and now he can't get the guy to pay him. But the defendant says the guy did the work on his own without notifying him and he authorized nothing of the sort. So the plaintiff is charging him for something that he didn't approve. It's the case of what a landlubber.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Raudenbush, you work for, are you the owner of, you are the owner of Walcott Marine, correct?
That's correct.
And Walcott Marine services a certain marina. You don't own the marina as well, do you?
No, that's correct. We lease space inside of a marina on Fort Myers Beach, Florida.
All right, and then so what happens in this case?
Well, so initially back on August 9th, we did work the first time for Mr. Gravengood. And at that point, as we onboarded a new customer, we took a credit card authorization form from him. The first work order went off without a hitch. We did the work, got paid for it, went on.
That was in August of 2019.
2019, yes. The week of September 15th, my service manager, Brett, took a call from Mr. Gravengood, and on the list that I provided, that is the work order, you can see the customer requests and then the responses to those. So the customer requested that we meet him on the boat on Thursday, the 19th of September 2019. We went over 3 items of work and then executed that work. We emailed that work to the email address that we had on file. Unfortunately, around that time, just as the work completed, my service manager quit. So there was a bit of a disconnect, and that work order actually never got collected, but it fell through the cracks, if you will.
Well, more than that, it didn't just not get collected. No one bothered to get a credit card authorization form signed for this one.
No, we keep the credit card authorizations on file from the beginning of the from the
yeah,
first.
But that's not how that stuff works. You got to get a different one for each bill unless he says that's how it works. So do you have an open, show me the documentation from the first repair where it says I'm keeping it open on file. Keep my tab open. Show me that.
The credit card systems don't allow us to keep a printed copy. It gets
Of course not. You're supposed to get a separate one for each one. And not only that, you're supposed to get the work order signed. Why do you bother going to a lawyer and getting these great forms and then ignoring all of them? Because the work order isn't even signed by him. Why do you guys do that? I mean, it's like literally everything that you could do wrong, you guys did wrong.
I disagree with that.
You disagree? Show me, watch this. Mr. Gravengood, did you authorize them to keep a credit card on file forever?
No, ma'am.
For any, right, so here's where the problem lies. The problem lies in that he's gonna dispute it, isn't he? So now, if you had that form, you would be able to show it. If you had an email from him, you would be able to show it. Or if you did what every other vendor does to me, which is make me sign a new credit card authorization, which is how you should conduct your business. Having said that, Mr. Gravengood, you know how marine repairmen are always just picking boats at random to fix them for them? You know how that's always happening?
Yeah, you sound like a boater.
Yeah, no, it's never happening. It's never happening. So are you looking me in the eye and telling me that you did not authorize these repairs?
I did not.
So how did he get your boat, know what was wrong with it, and repair it?
in August of 2019, the hose to the water pump both broke, and that's why the salt water was sprayed all over my engine compartment. So I authorized him to fix it, and I paid for that. The next time I went to use my boat, I noticed that the thermostat on that same motor, that port motor, was registering nothing. It was not working. And so that's when I went back in and talked with...
What month was this? What month was it?
I think it was in September, like he said.
Okay. And so you talked to somebody and what? And
they said, okay, well, the next time that you splash the boat, let us know, and we'll take a look at it. Somebody went on the boat.
What splashed the boat?
Put it in the water. My boat, you've got a picture of my boat. It's inside a big hurricane-proof barn.
Dry dock. Okay,
dry dock.
Go on.
Right. And so they splashed it on that day. They sent one of their mechanics out there to go look at the things that I asked them to look at. And then they started sending me those work orders that you saw.
Right. So you got the bill, and what did you do with the bill? Did you call them and say, what are you talking about? I never authorized the work? Or you just ignored it?
I didn't. I never got a bill. I never got a bill. I just got that work order, and then they asked me if I wanted to have this done, to sign it and send it back, and I never sent any of that stuff back. And then months went by, and like he said, they were discombobulated because Brett left and new system or whatever. In January and February of 2020, I actually lived on the boat in the marina for those 2 months, and when they took the boat out to put it back in the barn, I noticed that, it was time for me to do some more maintenance on my boat. I just assumed that they never did that other work because the one thing about the battery was dead. And so I went to West Marine and replaced one of the batteries.
You hear what you just said? I assumed they didn't
never
do
gave
the
me a
other
bill.
work because the battery was dead. Not, I assume they didn't do the other work because I didn't authorize it. So now it's you want work done in April, correct? And they say, hey, you got an outstanding bill from September.
No, they never said that. They never said anything about an outstanding bill. And like I said, I never received a bill. My thermometer never worked. The one filter they said they changed, it's the same filter because it's got salt water sprayed all over it still from that initial accident. And then I had to replace a battery. Okay, that was in December. And then again...
Okay,
like
I'm talking about April. What happens in April? Tell me what happens in April.
Well, in April, I had to replace the other battery, so I've replaced both batteries. And then I asked them if they would take my props off, grease the hubs, put the props back on, and change my zincs. And so again, I asked them to do that, but I never got a we're going to do that. I never got a bill for it.
Wait, what more do you need? An engraved invitation once you say, hey, this is what I need, do it, and they say yes. What more do you need from them to know that you're going to have to pay if they do what you ask?
No, if they do what I ask, for sure I pay them. They didn't do it.
Okay, so you're saying, wait, now, are you saying they didn't work on your boat at all, or they worked on it and it was subpar?
The only thing that I can figure out that they've done is the 2 zincs on the bottom of my trim tags. Those appear to be new. My props are still salt encrusted, so there's no way they took them off. There's a couple of zincs on the engines. They're the original zincs. They got barnacles on them, so they didn't change those. The thermostat thing still doesn't work. I replaced the batteries. That spark filter thing is the original filter because it's still all salt, salt stained.
What am I looking at here? Are these barnacles, Mr. Roddenbush?
Yeah, so that is one of the zincs that was replaced.
Okay. Am I looking at barnacles or not?
No, it's not barnacles. A zinc is a little piece of alloy metal that's there to corrode before the engine corrodes. It's called a sacrificial anode. And I had included in the package a piece that I don't know if you got a chance to read it all about marine corrosion.
I started to, but I fell asleep after the 3rd paragraph.
I get it. So
they come like this. So they come like this with that.
They come nice and crisp, like the one that you see. Okay, so that one right there, that little disc, that shows a fresh zinc anode that has not corroded.
Okay.
Judge, can I intervene here?
Yeah.
he's correct. That's my first time seeing those bottom zincs, and he changed those. That's correct. He changed those zincs. So I will now admit the ones that are on there now are much nicer looking than that. But like I said, they had a few little barnacles on them, so I just assumed that they never touched those. But the round ones up at the top, I agree with him. Those are new ones. Those zincs are all new zincs. So I have no argument about the zincs.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Rodenbush, on the April repairs. According to you, Mr. Gravengood, you never authorized the April repairs?
I don't know whether or not I authorized them or not, but I asked him to do it.
Okay, well, that's called authorizing. And then did he ever tell you, listen, you still owe the September bill?
No, ma'am.
So can you tell me, Mr. Rodenbush, do you have any evidence that you sent him the September bill, like emails dated September, October, November, December? Okay, let me see that. Come closer to the camera. Attaches the work order for your approval to do the repairs you requested. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, now, do you have any billing him, which is after the work is done?
The work order is, we don't do a separate invoice.
I'm asking you, prove to me.
I would like to.
Do you want, I don't want you to get, listen to me. Me pica aquí, me raca aquí. It is itching me here and you're scratching me here. Listen to my question. I am asking you to show me something where you are billing him for having done the work. That's what I'm asking for.
And allow me to clarify. You have this document. It was submitted into evidence. And there's 4 line items here. 2 of them were performed on the 20th of September while Mr. Gravengood was on the boat. And so this line item says the tech went to the boat to diagnose the system. And also on that date, they replaced 1 battery. And he mentions the spark arrestor. That work was inadvertently not done. So I'm glad to refund him for that work. But the showing up
that's big of you.
The showing up to diagnose the boat and replacing that battery while he was there that day, then, as I said, service manager leaves, this thing gets left in the dust.
So that's a $90 charge and a $188.95 charge. Do you have a problem with that, Mr. Gravengood?
I have a problem with the battery. I replaced the batteries. And one of the batteries I replaced in December, and the other battery I replaced in April.
It was dead in September.
And you put in a new battery?
Yes.
Says who? Because I'm starting to get worried about your bookkeeping system. By the way, Mr. Gravengood, do you have proof that you, in fact, changed the port battery that he's charging you for? Like, in other words, do you have a receipt that shows that you had to change it because it wasn't working?
You have the receipt.
And this is a battery that you purchased in May of 2020?
Yes.
All right. What happens in April? Do they do any work for you in April, Mr. Gravengood?
Well, up until now, I thought all they did was those round zincs. But now I know they did not only the round zincs, but the zincs on the engines.
Okay. Let's see. I'd like to see the bill for April. And on this work order, change drive zincs, grease props, remove and replace drive zincs, remove props, and grease So are you contesting this bill, or do you think now that this bill is correct?
I'm still contesting the props being taken off and greased and put back on.
Because?
If you look, you have some of my photographs of the props, and you'll see there's a nut that has to be removed to take those props off. And it's encrusted with salt. There's no way they could take that nuts off. And both guys who see all that on there, there's no way they took that off.
Okay. Mr. Rodenbush, in April, did you do the work?
No, not me personally.
Okay. Who did the work? Is that person here to testify that they did the work?
No.
Okay. All right. So now we've got April comes up, and do you say to him, is it your testimony, Mr. Rodenbush, that you say to him, hey, you still owe us for September?
No. At that point, we did not realize that he had not paid his bill for September.
Look at that. How is it that you don't even realize that? You don't realize that. You don't have signed work authorizations. You don't have credit card. But I'm supposed to trust that something got done 8 months ago that you didn't do. I'm looking at this picture. What is your response to this picture?
That boat has a problem called galvanic corrosion. That can occur on a boat with galvanic corrosion, can make that occur in a couple of days in the water. I'll take you to the picture that we submitted.
Okay.
Where you can see the grease in the props. You can see that you'll see two pictures of propellers. Now.
And what am I seeing in that picture?
There's a S that's written on there in Sharpie. That was the mark that the mechanic used to identify that that was the starboard propeller so that he could keep them straight when he took them off to grease the prop shafts and put them back on.
Okay. And what is that a picture of?
That is the fresh grease on the prop shafts that when we removed them and replaced them.
What do you think, Mr. Gravengood?
I'm curious as to why he never showed me these pictures when I told him he didn't do the work.
I'm curious too. I'm curious why I have to sit here. I have to read that lengthy article he submitted on corrosion. I have to, when it turns out that at the end of the case, you guys are almost agreeing on everything. So we've got the April.
You know what, Judge? I have another question though. It's pretty unusual that somebody that's working on a boat would be taking all these pictures. I've never heard of that or seen that before. And then, like you said, I mean, I don't know why he didn't show me these pictures when we first disputed them.
What do you think? They're not pictures of your boat?
I'm just starting to question, when did they take these pictures? You know, I mean, well, there's no reason to take them.
Well, I don't know.
I can't tell that those are my props. You know, and now I'm starting to wonder about those inks. You know, I mean, that looks like a boat that's been in the water for way longer than 2 months.
I would like to know how someone who doesn't bother to get credit card authorizations or signatures on work orders or keep emails where you bill somebody is someone who's so careful that they take pictures of every nook and cranny of the boat when you're working on it.
Those pictures were taken in preparation for the hearing. We went back to the boat, removed the propellers to demonstrate to you that back in April those were greased.
Did you have permission to do that? Did you have permission to manipulate his boat, to take it out of the barn and take pictures of it to help your case against him? Did you ever bother to get permission from him to touch the boat? What Judge, you don't know about the law would fill a library, Mr. Rodenbush. All right, nonetheless, just stop, everybody stop. These pictures show the work done, right? Mr. Gravengood, you're stunned you weren't shown that before. You do contest the battery. I'm taking that off the bill. I am allowing for whatever work the guy did assessing that was $90 on the September bill. And all of a sudden, during the case, he says, wait, we didn't do these other two jobs. All right, that means that what you owe him is $412.34. And let me give you a piece of advice, Mr. Rodenbush. If you ever do work for anyone, it takes 1 second of time to make them email you that they are authorizing it. It takes 10 seconds of time to send them an authorization. It takes 5 minutes of time to be organized enough to make sure that before you do the work, the authorization, credit card authorization has been received. Then you don't find yourself in court. That is my verdict. Verdict for the plaintiff in the reduced amount of $412.34.
So the plaintiff prevails. He gets not what he was seeking, but anyway, let's talk to the defendant in this case first and see how he feels about the outcome of the case. What do you think?
I think these guys are pretty dirty. I was on my boat last weekend, and I took some pictures. There's some greasy handprints all over my dinghy and my boat, and I wondered what that was all about, and now I know what it was. Those guys were on my boat 2 weeks ago with their greasy hands taking their pictures.
Preparing for the lawsuit, you mean? You think
I guess, yeah. Like I said, I have no problems paying for work done. I've been in that marina for 7 years. I bought my boat from that marina 15 years ago. They have an excellent reputation in our community. I don't know. I think it's just a management thing or something taking over. Or I don't know what, but.
Let's talk to Mr. Rodenbush. Mr. Rodenbush, sounds like you need some bookkeeping help. What do you think? What do you think what the judge said to you, the advice she gave you?
She brings up a good point. We had a manager quit in the midst of that work, and some things fell through the cracks.
Well, thank you very much, sir. You're getting something back, but not what you wanted. Let's see how the judges feel. Time now for another edition of After the Verdict.
The nerve of this guy trespassing.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I mean, he just doesn't get it.
Yeah, it's pretty nervy.
You know, you know how people are always working on boats without, your authorization. Then it turns out, yeah, some people do work on boats without authorization or without it being clear. But really, the defendant's defense was, no, you didn't, and that's how it started to look.
And the defendant was gracious and said, yeah, I want to pay for work that got done, and even went as far as to say, hey, this is a reputable company. Right.
But boy, it's pretty disreputable to bring the boat down to create evidence for your case.
Yeah, you might say it's unfathomable.
Yes.
Right?
So Joey wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, baby. Don't call me baby, Joey. It's cold outside. How do I get my landlord to turn up the heat? We have a difference of opinion on what thermostat should be on. Is there a certain number? There is not a certain number ever. And it really depends on circumstances. But I'm going to tell you this. In every lease, whether it's written down or not, there is something called a warranty of habitability. It's implied in the lease. That means you have a right to a healthy, safe apartment. Part of that is you have a right to heat, especially in the winter. So if you don't have adequate heat, or if he won't let you have adequate heat by not turning the thermostat up, you might have a breach of that warranty and you could sue for damages. Mention warranty of habitability, see where it gets you. And we'll see you next time.